Get the cheese. Put to side the thoughts of Reapers and what have you. INnoVation's macro is so insane versus Zerg. I can't see a situation where Losira beats him.
Yeah, this is going to be a tough one for sure. And I guess the one thing that gives me hope for Losira is that I haven't seen him playing too much recently. And sometimes players have peaks in their skills, sometimes they have troughs. I really hope that this is a moment where Losira is at a peak in his skill because he's going to need to bring it if he wants to take down INnoVation. This is a much more straight up matchup, I would say, than the Zerg versus Protoss. It's a little bit harder to get those sneaky all-ins working and all that sort of stuff. INnoVation, obviously, such a mechanical god, but Losira, he is a cheeky player. He's a sneaky guy. Maybe he'll find a way to pull the wool over INnoVation's eyes and just kind of get him with a sneaky all-in or something like that.
I mean, I will say, for those who don't know, if you're a base trade TV fan, you've certainly heard me complain about this. If you've just met me for the first time, I don't do a lot of esports betting. The very first time I ever bet on anything, I put $3 on Losira and lost. So I just have like a permanent bias against Losira forever and always. But as much as I want to make a more serious joke out of that, the fact is, like, INnoVation is just so good. I really am a big INnoVation fanboy. You're gonna hear Terran bias coming through on the cast. I'll tell you that right now. Like, this matchup to me, in every way possible, screams INnoVation, INnoVation, INnoVation. But that being said, this is the winners match. This isn't the losers match of the group. So both players had to play really well to get here.
Losira is the people's hero, man. People look at the cheeky all-ins that he likes to do, the sneaky, crazy plays, and they're like, I think maybe I could do that. Maybe I could draw some inspiration from him. Losira is the guy. His play style has always revolved around being a madman. Way, 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 way back since he made it to a GSL finals back in the early days of StarCraft 2. Losira has been a crazy guy. He does lots of weird, aggressive builds. Of course, one of the cool things that we've seen is, I've been talking about this before with Leenock, is there have been these players who had these really big shortcomings in their play style earlier on in StarCraft 2. But the ones that are still around and still consistently performing at a really high level, like Losira, someone who gets put out or did get put out all the time in Pro League last year or earlier this year, he's one of these guys who did evolve, he did adapt. He's still kept that original identity as a guy who loves his all-ins, loves his cheeky attacks, but he's capable of a wide range of plays. He can macro quite damn well.
Yeah.
INnoVation, on the other side of things, have you seen his TvZ? Have you seen him go mech at all after the patch?
Yes.
Or is he kind of going half-half?
So I would say, yeah, half the games, we've actually seen a couple of INnoVation mech games. But honestly, they weren't like the best kind of mech games, right? They're the kind that were just like, okay, here were some Cyclones and Hellions, and maybe it worked and maybe it didn't. But when it comes down to the nitty-gritty, it seems like he still goes back with a bio, and he seems pretty unstoppable with it. I think for INnoVation, too, by the way, who was those we cast the other day? I'm trying to remember. Oh, was it INnoVation? I'm trying. We cast a Terran player just 2 days ago. No, it was Bunny. Team Liquid Bunny came back from like out of nowhere. And he did this style of mech. I was expecting all the new things. He just went like crazy Thors against Zerg. And it worked. It worked really well up until Snoop finally knocked him out in the semifinals. Mech has so much to be said about it right now. You got the extreme, that is like the way Nathanius plays mech. You got the more classic style that has a lot more to do with the Hellbats and the tanks of things. I gotta say though, just like when it comes down to it, I love that right now in StarCraft 2, you've got players like INnoVation who are good enough to make mech work, but more importantly, that there's a whole slew of different ways to play it now than the way you were forced to play it before.
There really are so many options open. And of course, INnoVation, I really think it does add something to him in this matchup, the fact that he is capable of playing both styles. I always felt like if someone was predictably just playing one very reliable, predictable sort of mech, it's not that hard for Zerg to beat because they can prepare for it and they can adapt. And, there's like this very different gears that the Zerg player needs to shift into, whether they're playing against bio or mech. And if they can't go into the game already knowing what they're facing, it does make things a lot harder for them to decide. For instance, you're playing against bio, upgrades become so important. You've got to rush those upgrades. Against mech, not really. It's more just about shutting down the early harassment and securing your 3 bases and then teching up a bit later on in the game. Because, of course, Mech has so many faster harassment options, and INnoVation has just so much experience lately. You were talking about it earlier when we first started the stream. He's just been playing so many online cups, and like he's played Dark like 4 or 5 times in online events in the last month. He's been beating players like Solar, Sue, all of these guys consistently in online cups. Of course, Dark has been getting the better of him for the most part, but he's always taking a map. He's occasionally beating him. He did take him out 2-0 just last week in Life End Cup. So INnoVation's TvZ is very strong right now.
I gotta say it. I said it before, I'll bring it up again. I think the coolest thing out of INnoVation, though, whether he's good, whether he's bad, no matter what you feel about him, he's one of the Koreans who really seems to have screamed freedom since being released from the clutches of Kespa. And I love that he's been streaming, or as you just referenced, been playing in so many events and so many things. Actually, my favorite was more recently, he played in Make Korea Great Again, the very first cup we had. Him versus Classic in the finals went to the ace match. It was such a good TVP series.
I'm actually that's a guy I'm very curious to see how he does in this tournament.
Classic
in Group C later on today, because he's a guy. I like Artosis' nickname for him, the Wind Toss. You know, it's such a good nickname for him because he's the guy who'll do like literally anything to win. Like he'll do the most unglamorous builds ever. I remember he actually had like a niche of hardcore fans who were like Classic haters on the TL forums and on Reddit, because these guys would just be like, I get that he's really good. I'm not saying he's not really good. I just think he's incredibly boring. And I kind of disagree. I find it fascinating when someone just has such a wide variety of bag of tricks of like he will do the most boring defensive macro play against, say, a Zerg who's overly aggressive, knowing if he just turtles long enough, you know, he'll win. And he'll play it out so slowly. But then he'll throw out cannon rushes. He'll throw out these super refined 2-base all-ins. And I just feel like he never sticks himself to one specific style. So I really hope we get to cast some of his matches later today, because I'm always fascinated by Classic as a player. But for now, you can hear the countdown happening. Going to be diving into map 1 of Losira vs INnoVation.
Yeah, just going directly to that load screen. I wish this was a best of 5, not a best of 3, is what I think it comes down for me. But at the end of the day, it might just still be very one-sided. We'll find out here in just a moment as we load into the first game of the winner's match for Group A. Now, what's great about this, obviously, is if your favorite player of the matchup wins this best of 3, boom, done. You won't get to see any more of them today, but you'll guarantee get to see more of them in following days. IEM's got a bit of a funny schedule too. If you guys haven't seen it, it's been chopped up and split up pretty strangely, so acclimate yourself with the schedule. Go look it up. It's available on Team Liquid and on Reddit, and make sure you don't miss any of the StarCraft action beyond today. But I'm Rifkin, casting today with you, Pig. That was an awkward introduction. Thank you for the snorts. Help make it less awkward, I guess. In the bottom right, kicking off this best of 3, it's the blue Zerg player, Losira.
And his opponent in the top left-hand side, our red Terran player, it is INnoVation.
Now again, I want to make it perfectly clear before we even enter like the first bit of this game. I am a pretty big INnoVation fanboy. I'll do my best to like not actually be biased, guys, and all that good stuff, but if INnoVation goes mech, I'm gonna be squealing like a little girl. I'll be the pig. I'll be like, ah! Like, it's just, I love watching mech in general. Watching a player as good as INnoVation, or when you got players like Beyond or Dream or anyone else that are that top echelon of Terran playing mech. Oh, it's just so much better to watch.
It really is. I'm always fascinated to see how players do make it work. Of course, love INnoVation's bio play as well. You know, if there's tripping over my tongue, if there is a map for a player to want to play mech on, it is this one. Now, first of all, let's talk a bit about Losira's build. A lot of you guys who haven't been watching StarCraft every single day might be like, whoa, what is Losira doing right now? However, those guys who have been watching every single day would see this is the latest meta build in Korea and around the world. It is a pool-first build where the Zerg player tries to get these 2 Zerglings, sneak them around the Reaper on the map, wants to delay the command center, pull the Reaper home, waste a lot of the Terran player's time, meanwhile going for a super greedy 3rd hatchery. So really fast 3-hatch, very much delayed Zergling speed, and just relying on those Zerglings to buy a bit of time, and then Queens and a couple of slow Zerglings to defend. So this is a real bare bones, super macro opening.
It's interesting to me that this, because we've seen this certainly plenty of times back on base trade TV too, but it's interesting to me that this even evolved to become a thing, with especially the frequency of 3-Rax Reaper on this map coming out of players from all sorts, whether it's TY, INnoVation himself, or the foreigners like Thermal and Kelazur. Like the 3-Rax just blocking off this ramp has been so common that it's so strange to me that this evolved to be a build, that this became common enough to see.
And it really is fantastic against everything that's not 3-Rax Reaper. I did see, of course, I think it was Impact the other week, try and play this build and just get destroyed by 3-Rax Reaper. But yeah, it's definitely a calculated risk from the Zerg player, but this is the sort of situation the Zerg player wants to see. A more standard Terran opening. Here we see Reaper into Reactor Barracks. It is a 2-1-1, 2 barracks, double medevac stim push that'll be coming out.
Big Overlord pickoff to start this off for INnoVation. That supply block for Losira is harsh. He did luckily get both the queens started, so he's not really held up in that regard, but oh boy, that sucks. That's a lot of supply he's got to wait for now.
INnoVation now realizes this is that third hatchery build. Losira hides the drone behind the minerals, and he's going to have those queens out to defend in just a moment.
Oh.
Of course, as you mentioned, that supply block is massive because this is such a greedy build. Losira has so much lava, and he really wants there to be no hiccups in this early stage so that he can just smoothly drone on up like crazy. Meanwhile, back at home, INnoVation going to be going for that very fast double medevac.
Yeah, and more importantly, Stimpack confirms my hopes and dreams of seeing mech this game will disappear. Feels bad, man. But this,
you jinxed it.
I did, right? I got too excited for the potential of it. This follow-up, though, is not so strange. It really, when Queens got the range increase, we started seeing the double medevac become a lot more common. This way of getting to it, sure, it takes like a little bit longer because you build that Reaper first, but that's fine. You still get there at a really fast timing. And if Lucira's got all of his bases covered, if he's going to deflect INnoVation at every turn, that's the best case scenario for Losira, because if he takes any damage from INnoVation's this guy where like he turns a small opening into a big opening and just never lets you breathe. So it's very important, like these first two medevacs don't do that much damage. It sounds like such a simple and lame thing to say, but really, this is where it all starts. And if INnoVation gets queen kills, like cleaning up creep is fine, but if he snipes off even just one queen to start, INnoVation's not going to be stopped very easily.
You're spot on, and this is a really crisp timing. We often talk about 5 minutes 20 is when this hits. This is going to be hitting right on 5 minutes because INnoVation is so damn good. He's been so crisp. Stim is finished. These Marines are ready to go, but there's a good amount of Zerglings from Losira. He's just, great micro from Losira. Nice surround on those Marines, but INnoVation there slips away. Loses only a single Marine there. Good,
that was actually fantastic
so
control
far
on both sides, right? Like Losira almost got the medevac, but INnoVation's like micro on the medevac while somehow stutter stepping. Like, how do you do that? Do you have like a third hand INnoVation? What's going on? It was so good, so smooth, and as you pointed out, yeah, lose like a Marine for it.
Of course, you don't necessarily need to kill the Zerg with this. INnoVation just wants to maintain pressure and threat. He wants Losira to stop droning and build a lot of units. He's going to clear up some creep as well. He wants to slow that down, but he doesn't want to go too deep on creep. Or does he? INnoVation!
Oh,
but there's
wow.
a spore crawler. Oh, he's going to have to focus that down. Good micro so far, but that medevac is very low. The queens
This
are coming
positioning,
in.
though, is so good for the Marines. Okay, the medevacs are going to go down, but the Marines trade up for so many lings in the process.
Great focus fire from Losira, though. Loses a few queens, loses some Zerglings, but at the end of the day, great hold from Losira. This is massive because Terran wants to maintain that pressure. Now, look at this. INnoVation, yeah, he's got great macro back at home, but it's going to be such a long time before he can push out again. And this gives Losira all the freedom in the world to macro up. This is what Zerg players love. Losira's got a healthy drone count. He can just drone freely for the next minute or two, drop a fourth base, drop a macro hatch, and this is where he really gets into his element.
Oh, it's so heartbreaking watching that queen barely live, but that's the Terran in me feeling so sad. I gotta say, INnoVation's going for Widow Mines. I feel so jaded about this. I'm curious what your opinion, Pig, because you've fought against them more than anything else. But they really have this, like, I won't call it a gamble effect. Sometimes they get those amazing hits. One Widow Mine kills like 18 banlings, and you just laugh on your way to the bank. And then sometimes all they do is constantly friendly fire and get your Marines killed. Like, I don't feel...
Really... It's about I think it's about your ability to like dictate the pace of the game. I feel like the moment you start losing, Widow Mines usually become a lot less effective because then the Zerg's got so many units overwhelming you that like you can't gun down their units and suddenly they're pulling Widow Mine shots into your own army. So I think I kind of agree with you there, but like it's one of those things where I think if you can maintain control of the pace of the game, they're always going to be worthwhile on average, even if there's the individual shot that's traitorous.
Well, INnoVation's got quite a few buildings behind this. I was just going to comment, we had referenced it earlier. I believe it was actually on Echo where INnoVation did that crazy game where he fought against Ultras and Mutas and everything with just Marines and Medevacs and Widow Mines.
Oh, almost gets the fourth base. Gets them.
Oh,
great
focus
fire. Very nicely done. And
Bit of
INnoVation. Good.
Bit of unfortunate timing there for Losira too. Speed was so close to finishing up. I mean, the 10 extra health is nice, and it actually helps out a lot in some situations, but the speed, obviously the necessity.
Losira here does lose the fourth, but he's got one on the other side of the map, so it's not the worst trade just yet. Looking for a good engagement. Forces the lift up. Don't mind shots go off, but great spreads from Losira. Unfortunately, no overseer for Losira out, and not even morphing one. So that's a bit of an odd choice. Can't really let those Widow Mines recycle, but looks like Losira is paying attention to other things right now. Spreading his creep across that left-hand side of the map, getting some really good map dominance and control. He's got a carapace upgrade coming out, those flyer units.
Overlord drops being made. I wonder if that'll be for sneaky a little bit later on. He's going to have to focus all the banelings, I feel, on INnoVation's push. Can't really afford to segment too many away for drops.
Yeah, there we go. 4 banelings morphing on the left-hand side. We'll be getting a baneling drop into the third ready. Mutas are starting to join in. Losira hasn't started his +2 armor just yet. Hope he hasn't forgotten that. INnoVation starting to push pretty deep on creep right now. Really trying to force these trades. INnoVation has a healthy supply lead right now. But with this creep spread, it's going to be very hard for him to force a good engagement.
Well, Overlord drops about to commence. Goes right past. And...
Is Losira going to hit the front at the same time as that goes in? He might. No. Looks like he's just going to let that hit on its own. Nice baneling drop on that third base. Takes out a whole bunch of SCVs. His Ling run by tries to hit the natural at the same time, but it does get sniped out. Sets off a lot of the Widow Mines with these banelings, though. Really nice play from Losira. Very patient.
Yeah, 12 SCV kills kind of hurts INnoVation, but 54 SCVs in total is not bad. Especially you got Mules to bridge that gap. I think he's fine for 3 bases, but INnoVation doesn't want to be thinking about 3 bases for too long. 100 supply and army wants to really pressure while he's got it. And this hatchery... Is he just going to give it up? There we go.
Gotta hang on to that. Huge Zergling counterattack. He's going across into the natural. But INnoVation, he's trying to hold position there on the ramp. The Mutas, though, going in. This natural counterattack is massive, but INnoVation's positioning was too good. His rally holds on. At the same time, he snipes the 4th base. And Losira, oh no, he's taking big damage.
Losira also gets into the third of INnoVation and drives off mining. Marines are struggling to deal with the Lings here. I mean, INnoVation's still pushing. There's a lot of pressure on that front line, but INnoVation's not exactly doing this without his own losses.
Oh, some good Widow Mine hits, some good spreads from INnoVation, but he is down in supply right now. That army gap is closing deep on creep. The Widow Mines are out, and suddenly INnoVation is pushed back. He needs to pick up and evacuate. His reinforcements trying desperately to join up. He cannot lose his rally here. If he loses control of the middle of the map, it'll be tough.
This is a smart pullback out of Losira. He was getting really tempted to go off that creep and chase just that little bit extra of distance, but yeah, the Mutas are out. He doesn't want to leave those to be the only thing he has. The Lings and the banelings have to survive to fight with them.
Oh, some big Widow Mine shots on the Zergling counterattack. Now there's only a few Mutas left. INnoVation is shutting down all of these counters. I mean, this really is Echo in a nutshell. Your mobile Lingbane Muta style is not as powerful here because you've only really got one angle to attack into your opponent's 3 bases. Only once INnoVation goes for the 4th base does Losira get those angles open to him. But by that point in the game, we see that Losira, without his own 4th base, he's been pushed back. He hasn't had the opportunity to do that damage. And I think INnoVation is very happy with the position right now.
Nice. Continue to push on the creep and clear it up, back away. I like this too. Clears up the area, not going to over-dedicate. I think that is a problem we've seen out of some of the really aggressive Korean Terrans where they just stop caring about the creep, and it's like, well, banelings and creep are pretty good. Maybe don't forget about the creep.
I love this liftoff of the main orbital by INnoVation. He knows how important it is to keep up pressure. Doesn't want to afford a 4th command center. Instead, just lifts off his main, moves it down here. And he purposefully had extra gas so that it doesn't matter that he's abandoned those gases in the main base. He's still got a bit of a gas bank.
Oh, the Mutas. Oh, no. Yo, it's interesting to see Losira invest in an air carapace first. This wasn't going to help ever, I think, really with the Marines, but he's anticipating like maybe Liberators or anything else. The carapace upgrades are paying him no real dividends here.
Yeah, things looking tough for Losira right now. Of course, INnoVation, he hasn't actually built turrets anywhere. He's been really greedy. Now that there's a decent little flock of mutas up here, it looks like he can start at least forcing INnoVation to leave Marines around his bases. Oh, you can't throw those mutas away though, Losira. Just dive through, force the Marines to kind of defend, and then fly on out is probably your best move.
You know, he's going to confirm that the command center moved over. That certainly hurts to see, but INnoVation has regularly been leaving pockets of Marines around his base, and I think a lot of it had to do with the Ling run-bys earlier more than the mutas, but of course, paying off now. He's going to push down the middle of the map and not bring too much home. He's getting really deep on creep. He's got to be careful how far he pushes into this.
Yeah, it's a lot of Ling Bane. Losira is going to dive on in there with a lot of those Banelings. Does get, great spreads from INnoVation. Even when he's that deep on creep, INnoVation never lets these Banelings get those money connections.
You know, I really thought, too, like, the 40 health Banelings in the foreigner matches have really shown to be strong. INnoVation makes it look like these didn't get any sort of buff whatsoever.
Oh, here he comes in. There's just too much Terran. Losira goes in, has to pull back halfway through the engage, and loses half of his army for nothing.
Yeah, continue to push on. I think at this point, INnoVation's kind of hitting A-move territory. Even if he takes bad Baneling hits, there's just so much supply. I mean, worse than this is with Mutalisks on the map, INnoVation's been able to build up to 17 medevacs. That's too many medevacs, Pig.
Oh my gosh, he is at almost triple the army supply right now.
GG.
Losira has to tap on out. Well played, INnoVation. Commanding play that game. You know, I thought Losira was in a pretty good position after he shut down the first 3 medevacs, but apparently INnoVation just somehow managed to keep the pressure up. You know, he was only on 1-1. He had these flimsy little Marine medevac Widowmine armies roaming around the map, and I was like, yeah, this can't really do anything right now. Like, Losira's just going to chase you off the map. And yet he continually cleared creep, took small trades versus squads of Ling Bane, would pick up, readjust, and move around. And by the time the mutas got out on the field, his 2-2 was kicking in, his like Marine count was looking really good. He started just doing these massive parade pushes on creep, and just so damn good at controlling it, so good at macroing behind it, so good at shutting down the counters. Incredible play out of INnoVation.
Yeah, and I think a lot of that too speaks onto, we see a lot of people almost rely on tanks. I don't want to say that in like a negative way, but they're not able to make Marine and just pure Marine work, right? INnoVation brings in a couple of Widow Mines, but the emphasis of that game is like the splits with the Marines always on point, the medevacs never dying, just constantly building up to this insane number. Oh, I better turn that levy. INnoVation does what I think everybody wishes they could do with Terran.
He really does. The flexibility of that heavy Marine composition doing wonders in that game. Of course, game number 2, going to be going into another quite defensive map. We started on Echo. Now we're going into Daybreak for map number 2. Blast from the Past, one of the most played maps in Wings of Liberty. Let's see who can take it out.
Yeah, Daybreak was the original Overgrowth, I guess, in some regards. That's where it's like regularly picked. But also, I'm gonna take a moment to get fake hype, because while I don't think we'll see it, this was another map that was great for mech back in when it was a thing. But in the top right, we've got the red Terran player. He's up 1 game in the series. It's my pleasure to introduce INnoVation.
And his opponent spawning down here in the bottom left-hand side. The Zerg player, it is Losira.
So there's not a lot to fault Losira, I feel, in that game. Like, you could argue, oh, maybe he should add some more burrowed Banelings or some more finesse, but realistically, I feel he did a lot of things right, and just the countless amount of Widowmine shots ended up being a little bit unfavorable. And as we so often see with Terran, lots of little engagements add up to end up being a huge supply lead.
What is Losira doing?
This is going to leave me with question marks. Maybe this is like some mind game stuff, like INnoVation Scouts. He's no natural. It's like, oh.
He's going 3 hatch before pool. Oh, I get it. Oh my god, it just clicked. All right, so he's going 3 hatch before pool. Now, what happens here, right, is because he's put the hatchery at his 3rd base and this hatchery at his natural, this is completely predicated upon INnoVation scouting with his Reaper, seeing the timing of the natural, thinking, oh, that's a delayed hatchery, therefore it's a pool first. That means there's 2 Zerglings about to hit my command center. Quickly runs home with the Reaper, goes, hey, why aren't there Zerglings here? By the time he then gets back across the map to pressure Losira, Losira's queens are out, and he's gotten away with his greed. This completely relies upon INnoVation, not SCV scouting, and assuming Losira's gone pool first. Let's see if it works.
That's gonna be so cool if the mind games actually work. The problem, the only downside to that though, right, is like all this cool stuff gets set up in motion, and he set the cards up. But if that Reaper just goes through to the main, he should see, like, just by clicking on the gas, seeing the timing, like, he'll know that there's not going to be that much to worry
And he will
about.
have a Reaper party. If he goes into that main base, dude, like, I can tell you, the first Reaper will just win the game almost. It will do so much damage that INnoVation will be so far ahead, and his follow-up pressure will be...
Oh, pig.
It works!
You're too smart!
The Reaper turns around. Losira's mind game working so well. And this is such a cute way of getting away with. Look at this. He's got no units. His queens have just started. Think about how much chaos that Reaper would be causing in his base right now.
Oh, yeah.
Instead, the Reaper gets all the way home, goes, wait, why aren't there Zerglings hitting me yet? Turns around and says, oh, crap. He's done something tricky. I really wonder, is INnoVation going to go straight to the third, or is he just going to go to the natural? I think he's going to go scout that third base. He knows that something funky has happened here.
This is so unfortunate for INnoVation. I don't think this is going to screw him out of the game, but it's rare that you see INnoVation get tricked or have some silly thing work against him. Maybe one drone dies, Reaper should get out of here, but I mean, as you said, like that first Reaper should have done countless damage in the main if he had just gone up and checked.
That would have been really sick. INnoVation now, he's got to be a little bit annoyed that this has gotten to this position. He's doing the exact same build as last game. He's doing a 2-on-1. This by no means that, you know, it doesn't mean that he's out of the game or anything like that, but he has missed an opportunity, and Losira has grabbed himself an edge, and that's the sort of play you need to do. If you feel a bit outgunned against an opponent, ooh, then you got to take a risk. But right now, Losira a little bit slow to react to this. This is an uncharacteristic mistake.
What's funny here for context is this is a Reaper getting this much done when there's things out to stop the Reaper. Imagine what he could have done when there was nothing out to stop the Reaper.
Oh, another drone goes down. Wow. Gets the full scout off. Sees that it's just a very standard development. After that, lots of drones, and kills all those workers as well as delaying the mining time. So yeah, that mistake there, I think, did a lot to kind of erase some of Losira's early game advantage.
That was, I like to call that move INnoVation's revenge. This is that Reaper on his way out. Did a lot more than it should have, but we also have the same follow-up as last game we're going to see on INnoVation. A little bit supply block for a fraction of a second. Pretend you didn't see that, guys. He's perfect, okay? But the double medevac push last game didn't really accomplish much right off the bat, and still we saw how that game turned out. If INnoVation can get anything done on this map, where one of the downsides I say to taking this third so far out is it is far out. There's not a lot of creeps spread out there just yet, and connecting to it might not be so easy.
Looks like that double drop is going to be heading across the map now. Losira's got a small Zergling counter in position, but INnoVation completely safe with that natural wall back at home. And here begins that same pressure. Similar to the previous game, it is going to be Queens and Zerglings versus these Marines.
Stim's done. Stim just finished.
Good control from both players. Nice Zerglings around, but I don't think he has quite as many Zerglings as last game. Does get the medevac, though. So I think this is once again a decent trade for Losira. Loses a lot of Zerglings, but killing the medevac and a couple of Marines does take the wind out of INnoVation's sails a little bit. So both players holding their own so far.
Yeah, INnoVation had nothing at home initially because he had just packed everything up in a brand new medevac. Not going to be the 3 that he was pushing with last time, but still going to come in and look for some damage. These Queens had to replace the creep tumors. There's not a lot of transfuses available. The Marines could focus fire 1 or 2 of them down pretty easily. The Lings come in though, going to try and save the day. Focus fire on top of the medevacs, and INnoVation finds himself in a very sticky situation. Not sure if he was going to be able to get in there and save those Marines. Very nicely done.
Yeah, I mean, he lost a lot of units there, loses quite a bit of map presence. He did bounce back from that in the previous game, but this time around, Losira has a very beefy supply overall, especially in Zergling count. There are 47 Zerglings out right now. 1-1 is on the way, whereas only single upgrades are on the way so far for INnoVation. So Losira here now able to drone freely, is going to catch back up in that worker count and then overtake. But also has got complete map control right now, and INnoVation, seeing that many Zerglings, he's actually got to wonder, is this an all-in? He starts a bunker in his natural. He's probably worried about a huge Baneling morph right now.
Well, of course, we know, thanks to our observer tools, the Bailey Nest isn't even finished yet. So once again, INnoVation's been kind of spooked. You got the early game opener spooking them, you got this mid-game kind of paranoia setting in with that great defense. I mean, that third CC, that's not even going to float over anytime soon, I don't think. I do hope, by the way, we'll see INnoVation take the middle base. I feel like INnoVation with control of that watchtower is going to be so much better than INnoVation, like, stuck off to the corner.
Yeah, INnoVation now scouting out that medevac to see if there are banelings coming in. He's going to realize, of course, nothing's happening. He's going to move that orbital down. Looks like he is actually going to take the rear third base. He's queued up to go do that, splitting a drop-off on the north side, and INnoVation realizes he needs to get out on the map.
This creep spread, there's a Ling. That third base is not going to plop down over there very easily. Meanwhile, Losira is going to have to be able to dodge some of these Widow Mines. 4 Widow Mines is actually plenty when there's no banelings out. It's all Lings down here.
Similar to last game, Losira's been quite greedy. He's gone right up to 76 drones. That's a big worker count. And that means the longer the game goes, the more time before INnoVation pushes him, the more army he's going to be able to get out. But right now, in the next 30 seconds, the next minute, the next 2 minutes, INnoVation is going to have that big army supply lead. The question is, can he push back the creep? Can he start to do something with that extra army?
Yeah, I mean, he was beating back tumors earlier up here to the north, but the Queens have already replaced them. He's not been able to get the spread he was looking to shut down. And, I mean, while he pushes down here, there's a lot of Queens. There's banelings. Speeds finish in 9 seconds.
Losira's just made a bit of a mistake. He's over-droned. He's at 85 workers right now. He's super low on army. He needs more units, but great baneling hits.
Yeah, when you get baneling hits like those, I don't think you're sweating it too hard. Queen's going to soak some of the Widowmine shots. Third base going to be pushed off. A little unfortunate because he had just spent everything on those front lines.
Losira, a little bit slow on his reactions. I mean, I know he was focused on dodging Widow Mines in the front there, but losing 10 drones to 3 Marines on his third base. Luckily for him, he way overbuilt workers, so he can just transfer some from his other bases, and he'll be just fine with that. He's still up at 80 workers. He's still adding more drones.
Oh, did
and
INnoVation
Losira is in much more control of this game this time around.
Oh, INnoVation just flew past the Overlord that had the Banelings morphing in underneath it. I don't think he saw those load up for a drop.
Baneling's going into the main base right now as well. INnoVation's already queued up to drop in the main at the same time, so things are about to get very messy. The question is, can INnoVation stop this Baneling drop on his third? His SCVs are so clumped there. Loses 8 SCVs in the main base. He's distracted. The Baneling's on the third.
Oh, this is where the mules are too.
God.
Oh, no!
Oh, my God. 16 SCVs went down to the first 2 Banelings dropping there. His Marines on the other side of the map only managed to kill 2 drones in return. Losira has got absolute control over this game. That early gambit with his 3 HP4 pool now transferring into a huge lead in the mid-game.
That Baneling hit, you know, it's one thing to look at all the SCVs dying, but remember that INnoVation had just dropped like 4 or 5 fresh mules on top of that. That was some seriously devastating damage. The mute count not really that high.
He's in a bit of a desperate position right now. Just look at this. Losira's kind of marauding around the map with his squad of mutas and zerglings, and it's like, yeah, that's actually only 30% of my army. I've got another 50 banelings back at home. This is a horde of Zerg right now. The swarm is about to crash over this Terran army. INnoVation does not have enough units. Great splits off by Losira. Activates the first few Widow Mines, rolls in over the rest of everything else. A couple of decent Widow Mine shots are good, but it's not enough. There is just too much Zerg right now. And it looks like this is going to be the end of INnoVation in game number 2. Losira crashing over the top.
The last couple of Widow Mines ended up friendly firing a lot of those Marines. GG's. We are blessed with another excellent 1-1.
The mind games from Losira. I was saying before the series, he likes the cheeky mind games and kind of crazy builds, and that one worked out perfectly. I love this. The sort of builds we're seeing develop, you know, this one, same as the pool hatch. These are all happening because none of the Terran players in Korea like to SCV scout. They figure if they're going to build a Reaper early, there's no point SCV scouting. And the Zerg players are being super abusive and taking advantage of that predictability. So very curious to see if Terran players start mixing in some SCV scouts again, maybe changing it up a bit so that they can be prepared for these sort of 3 hatch before pool or pool first into 3 hatch rebuilds that the Zerg players just keep on throwing out.
It's also just super nerd points when you can mind game somebody like INnoVation. Okay, we built this guy up, but not because we're just like faking it. This he's got merit, he's got record, he's got wins behind him.
They've both been very respectful to each other, always saying Sugio, GG at the end of the game. Just kind of saying, you know, respect your skill, GG, well played, basically. And map number 3 is going to be Whirlwind. Awesome. All right, we had 2 super defensive maps. Now we've got a map which is crazy macro focused in that it's huge, but it's a bit more open, a lot more counterattack paths. I can't wait to see what these guys bring out here.
Well, it is the 3rd and final game in the Winners Match series. I'm casting with Pig. My name is Rifkin, but spawning in the top right side of the map, it's going to be the blue Zerg player, Losira.
And his opponent spawning down here in the bottom right-hand side of the map, it is INnoVation.
Bottom right-hand side, Pig.
Bottom left. Yeah,
Ooh.
sorry. I'm gonna blame my 3rd dosage of cough medicine for the day on that one. I get a little bit loopy.
You just called the sickest 3-hatch mind game. I think you can mess up left and right just once. But I gotta say, I'm glad that these are cross spawns. So we're not gonna have any weird cheekiness that comes to expansions where somebody accidentally takes their 3rd, you know, go in the wrong direction towards the other person. We're actually gonna probably get the best game we could hope for, ideally assuming this doesn't end before the 10-minute mark.
Yeah, this is going to be interesting, right? Because I think it's fair to say INnoVation's the favored player. Yes, Losira's tied it up 1-1, but it was with a very cheeky build. INnoVation has been playing like very straight up, very front on, solid, not trying to do anything cheeky, not trying to take any chances. But now here on cross-map Whirlwind, Zerg is definitely favored. Losira has so much more space to work with before those pushes get over to him. It's going to be that much harder for INnoVation to shut down the creep spread with his drops. So, I don't know. I think this is going to be a real slugfest between the two.
So, it's not entirely related to INnoVation, but I gotta ask, have you seen what Thermal's been doing on Whirlwind recently against Zerg?
I haven't, actually. Oh, wait. Are we talking like the Gumiho build? We talking like a big flying capital ship by any chance?
Yeah, rushing out the battlecruiser and just teleporting it across the map.
Oh, yeah.
I love it, dude. And part of me, okay, so like, while that may actually relate back here in a second, because the map is so big, I love that idea. You close that gap, instant teleport, already across the map. It's the fastest you can possibly go. But I don't think we're going to see anything quite so crazy out of INnoVation.
You know, if INnoVation was the underdog here, I definitely would say there's a much higher chance of it happening. But I think as the favored player doing a battle cruiser rush, a little bit of a scary kind of risk to take. So,
it's not even proven to be like an amazing build, but it's just cool to see. Again, like you got the foreigners, they tend to be the trailblazers. Maybe the thoughts are like one day we'll see that out of INnoVation or one of the Koreans, but he's been having really good games with Bio. This time around, INnoVation's, I'm not saying a mech just yet, but he's starting with a reactor on the factory.
All right, going to be going Hellions. That's a good way to close that distance. And it looks like, I mean, INnoVation is only just scouting now with his Reaper, right? So he was planning to go Hellions no matter what the spawns were, just saying, this is a big, wide open map. Hellions are going to help keep pressure on. And this might go into mech. Well, okay, yeah, there's a second factory, second reactor. Great. I think your dreams have come true, except this is going to be like
it's not.
YOLO aggressive mech, right?
So this is the type of mech, though, that's going to have 4 Hellions followed up by like consistent Cyclone production. And this is something that it doesn't look like an all-in, but I like to call it an all-in because it seems to be, if it fails miserably and there's no recovery from it. This is something, by the way, where the idea is that, you know, INnoVation, if you guys remember, there used to be like a Marauder Hellion build you could do. It kind of covered your bases. If they had Roaches out, the Marauders would kill them. If they had Lings, the Hellions would kill them. This is where the Cyclones take that role. But, man, it's just so depressing. As good as the new Cyclone is, it can still lose out to Lings pretty hardcore.
Absolutely, and Queens usually are the key against these sort of pushes as well, because you've got very low damage point units in the Cyclone and the Hellion. Both not doing well against the 1 base armor of the Queen, or the fact that the Queen has 175 hit points. So they just can't really burst the Queens down. And it becomes very hard to get the Hellions and the Cyclones to, you know, focus on the correct units. Transfusers come into play very good. The question is, does Losira have enough Queens to back up his play? He's shown he's very Lingbane focused, doesn't like to go Roaches. So, you know, does have a Zergling counterattack out there for now.
Yeah, the Zerglings might be able to catch this in the middle of the map. INnoVation's actually throwing an armory down with this to turn these into Hellbats for that push, and that's going to be really cool. I actually think this might work. We've got Baneling Nest starting up. He has no idea, I believe. Like, that Overlord actually didn't see the Cyclones or saw the Hellions leave. Is that fishy enough for him to throw down a Roach Warren? Apparently not, because Banelings do not, like, Banelings will not cut it against the Cyclones. They'll help with the Hellbats, maybe, but the Cyclones are going to be the biggest issue here.
All right,
no
Losira
roaches.
spots it with the Overlord. His Zergling counterattack's coming in, but the depots are raised. INnoVation has been so on top of that wall every single game. What does he have at home? He's got 7 queens. He's building more Zerglings. His Baneling Nest is not finished yet. And it's all about holding on against this attack. Losira does not have a single transfuse saved up. He's been spending all of his energy on creep. The Hellbat morph is there. The Cyclones and Hellbats are diving in on top of everything. The Banelings are only just beginning to morph. Meanwhile, Losira's counterattacking the other side of the map had to retreat. It was held on. And it looks like Losira's coming in with a lot of units right now. His queens are mostly still alive. The Banelings are about to finish morphing.
But they go off on the Cyclones, and the Cyclone are armored, so they don't really care. They try to walk by, get those Hellbats. The queens have mostly survived, and INnoVation has just spent so much for so little. This is why I classify this as like an all-in, because look at those resources lost. That's not exactly nearly as telling as the fact that your tech is so far behind. There's no tech labs to swap to. There's no tanks following this up. There's no starport. He's starting +1 weapons, but I mean, to follow this up with the Cyclones and Hellions, it failed pretty badly against what was pretty much just queens on the defense. This time around, there's going to be actual units out to fight them.
Yeah, I mean, that's the weakness of that build. If the queens are in big enough number and they kind of micro back and spread against the Hellbats and Cyclones, you just can't force them to stand and fight you. If those queens are forced somehow to stand their ground and fight, they'll go down very quickly. But Losira microed them back, got them behind the minerals. He bought a lot of time there. And then it's like, oh, extra Zerglings will wrap in behind, more Banelings will come in, and steadily that Terran army, just gets whittled down. Of course, this is INnoVation. He's a very powerful mech player. He knows how to play a very diverse bunch of styles. Potentially, he can still come back from here, but his tech is very far behind. He's trying to secure a third with just Hellions and Cyclones right now.
There's going to be this really cute drop that's going to hit the main, and INnoVation's not going to be prepared for it. But just going back on that first attack, like with the sort of idleness that was those 4 or 5 Hellions, I would have loved to have seen the focus of the hatchery. Folks, if you don't know, Cyclones melt armored units, and buildings unfortunately get classified as such. You'll see a hatchery die in seconds flat. And I think that would have been a lot better for the pressure, but oh, oops, awkward. Not only loses one of the very important Banelings he had loaded up for the drop, but reveals he had some units down here.
Yeah, INnoVation does clear that up. He still isn't aware of the drop coming in on the left-hand side of the map that's just loading up now. He does have Hellions roaming around the right-hand side at the same time. INnoVation using the mobility of these Hellions to exert pressure on the map while defending, doing a good job. He spots the drop, and he's going to pull back into his natural, be completely ready to shut that down. He's got to pull those SCVs out of there. Waits till the last possible second. Shuts down the drop. Very nice play from INnoVation.
It's so awkward watching the Cyclone lock-on shoot the air for so little now. Someone was telling me that the damage of it's actually about equivalent to that of 1 Marine per Cyclone. Like, lock-on used to be so beastly. INnoVation's following this up with Thors, though. This is where the game gets really interesting for me, because we've been seeing a lot of different types of mech, right? But as I had mentioned before, Bunny had pulled out this build where he was going a lot of emphasis on the Thors. My thoughts on this were twofold, right? Like, on one hand, Mutas... Oh, sneaky base out of Losira. On one hand, like, Mutas are a lot harder to deal with now, and maybe that would have been the case. But I kind of forgot, Thors in their new range mode match Broodlords pretty perfectly, and if that's the direction Losira goes, Thors are really great anti-air in that one instance.
Looks like INnoVation's doing a great job of catching all those Zerglings on the map in the bottom right. Does shut them all down. Zergling drop in the main is going to get shut down just after getting a single missile turret. So good defense from Inno so far. He's got his 2-1 upgrades on the way. Interestingly though, Losira here, just on Lingbane versus Mech, not going for the classic Roach tech, not going Hydras, just going to Hive. Looks like he wants to just play Lingbane Infesta into Ultras and then maybe Broodlords. Really streamlined way of just rushing up to Hive tech. And I don't know if INnoVation expects this. He did scan the Hive earlier. But I'm not sure if is he going to just try and push before the Hive tech gets out, or is he going to play the long game and secure that 4th base?
Well, a lot of the time, Mech doesn't like pushing before 150 supply, but INnoVation's well past that point. He's got so many Hellions running around the side of the map, too. And with Blue Flame finishing up in a moment, it's not necessarily about for the Lings, but you need very few Hellions to gut a mineral line if you've got Blue Flame.
Zergling's running in for the flank, but the Sensor Tower does spot it. INnoVation is going to be reasonably well prepared to stop that with his rally of units, his Hellions as well being able to split off.
He swapped over to some tank production, which is I find really odd considering the composition he has right now, but I guess more worried about the ground and seeing no air.
Ooh, Zergling sandwich gets hammered right there. Ultralisk Caverns almost ready. INnoVation wants to push before then. There is no fourth base. INnoVation, he's starting it only now. He's not all in, but he needs to do damage. He needs to put a dent in Losira's armor soon. Otherwise, Losira is going to be able to just swap between Ultras and Broodlords and force INnoVation into a very hard spot.
Those Hellions are just going to stand the ground and get completely demolished.
Morphed into Hellbats. What a horrible... I don't know if that was a misclick or a bad decision at the last moment. If he kept those Hellions alive, this would be a much more robust army. With those Hellions gone, the Zerglings are going to be much more effective against it.
I think it was a little column A, little column B on that one, Pig, if I had to guess.
More tanks and Hellbats are rallying across the map. Losira constantly looking for these counterattacks, but there's one thing we're seeing throughout this entire series. It is INnoVation shutting down those counterattacks really hard. There's still no Vipers on the map here, but these tanks are awfully clumped. They're not sieged up right now. These siege tanks do super well against Ultras with the new damage, but...
Well, it should also be noted, Vipers were tweaked a little bit too. They're not as good as they were. Blinding Clouds had a bit of a duration reduction. I think it went from like, what, 10 seconds to 6, I think is the new time?
Yeah, still a very effective spell though. Abduct as well. Still very powerful against mechs, so very weird to not see Vipers out of this composition. Like, Losira is basically just going to go for the super powerful roll over the top and rely on mass transfuse to keep the Ultras alive. But with the new tank damage, I don't know if that's going to work.
I would like to draw attention to the resources lost really quick too. Like INnoVation with all of these Hellions constantly roaming around, slaughtering 172 Lings for the cost of what was that awkward bailing engagement. I mean, INnoVation would have, I think, if controlling better, lost almost nothing for the amount that he's traded out so far. Tanks, of course, can absolutely beat the crap out of Ultralisk. Cyclones not too bad either, but as they coming in, that's a lot of tanks. This is dangerous. A lot of
siege tanks. If he focus fires, the transfuse will not work because the siege tanks just dish out so much damage. Zergling counterattack once again coming in from behind, and once again INnoVation. Sensor Tower here has done so much work to shut down the mobility. His Hellions shut down the hatchery on the top. INnoVation is just controlling the entire map from this central position. And right now, Losira, his only answer is this Nidus Worm that's going up in desperation. Back down at his...
I like this. INnoVation cannot possibly get home in time. The problem is obviously, like, if Losira goes, then he gives up his defenses, but anything he sends to that Nidus Worm is not going to be easily shut down. Everything's across the map, but it's a big, slow Terran army.
Yeah, he's going to have to make a split-second decision here. How much does he send home? What does he send home? That's a lot of Zerglings and tanks coming out right on top of INnoVation's production. He splits home his entire reinforced, about 6 tanks and 6 Hellbats heading home. They will eventually be able to defend this, but it's going to take a while. Meanwhile, this frontal push is still heading on in. The Banelings and Ultras starting to crash on through. The INnoVation, he's got so many siege tanks up here. I think there's just a bit too much Terran damage. Losira's supply gets torn apart on that ramp.
And he has finally started cleaning up that main, by the way. That Ultralisk is the last thing standing, that last little bit of threat. Nothing left really defending at home. And well, Losira might have this really cool top left hidden base. It's not exactly helping in this situation. It's giving him a little bit more money, but every single thing he makes just gets killed by the siege tanks. 85 damage a shot. Ultralisk do not stand up to the new siege tank.
Gotta say, where are the Vipers?
Yeah, I'm right with you on this one.
In this composition, it makes absolutely no sense. I got to be hypercritical of Losira here. He had a massive lead from that early game after he held that attack, and he really has let it slip away here. He's going to overwhelm these siege tanks, I think, but no, even more siege tanks coming in, not even in siege mode. And it looks like that'll be the end of it here for Losira. Even with the hidden base, not enough.
The thing about the Vipers too, like maybe he's hesitant because he doesn't like the new Blinding Cloud. I think Abducts would have done wonders in a lot of these scenarios, but unfortunately, we'll never know because Losira is definitely going to die. Down to 26 army supply. He's got 1 Ultra, 3 Queens, less than 5 Lings. The tanks unsieged, push up that ramp. GG! INnoVation makes it happen and takes the series 2-1.
A really good effort from Losira, especially that amazing build in game 2. But at the end of it, INnoVation shows his true strength, even after his what you call, I guess, the semi all-in, the big Cyclone Hellion. Let's hope this works. Even after that failed, he came back. He showed that he's the whole package, man.
We've actually cast and seen that strategy fail and lead into immediate GG so many times. I actually did not even know there was a follow-up to it, Pig. Like, that's how crazy that was to watch that fail so bad turn into such a fantastic victory for INnoVation. And of course, that means he finishes not just winning the series, but finishes first place in the group. So he's out. He's safe. He's going to get a little bit more IEM on another day. But he's done for now.
Of course, this is the round of 16. So, yeah, going through there means he will be playing the round of 8 later on in the tournament. Of course, our next match on this stream is going to be the